question. It was released in 1979. 1979. Were you Miss Andra, Miss Flores?
No, I
was 10.
Last day of 1983. So
I was 10. I was 10, yeah. So I'm significantly older. All right. Okay, guys. So what I want to do is share my screen if I can get there. There we go. Share. And I don't have music to go along with this. All right. So NoodleTools. NoodleTools. Let's talk a little bit about NoodleTools. Miss Flores, you're going to have to monitor the chat because it disappears when I put it into mode. All right, so respond. Here's my question. Respond with a 1 if this is your first time using NoodleTools. Respond with a 2 if you have used NoodleTools before. What do we have? Maybe I can find the chat.
Looks like about a 50-50 split here. And
50-50
the people
split.
who have used it, they're saying it was a long time ago.
Okay, okay, cool. So this isn't going to be like too boring for you guys. Awesome. Awesome. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. So I'm going to talk a little bit about NoodleTools. I'm going to only really catch up to those first 3 things because at this point, you guys, I think, are taking notes and creating your own, not necessarily a paper, but whatever your end product is going to be. So that's not really something that's all that applicable. But citations is a big deal because the National History Day thing requires a citation list. All right. So NoodleTools, you can get to NoodleTools in a couple different places. So if you are, sorry, my husband's talking to me from the other side of the other room. Sorry. So MCPS resources, if you are on a Chromebook, if you are on a school issued Chromebook, up in the upper left-hand corner, underneath the back button, you'll have the MCPS resources. And one of the things you can go to is MCPS online resources and scroll down to NoodleTools. The other way is through Destiny Discover. So those are the 2 ways that you can get to NoodleTools. I also have a link here in this presentation as well. All right. So what I want you guys to do is to go to NoodleTools, go to NoodleTools. So if you are going to enter it through Destiny Discover, you can go into the Shady Grove classroom, the school classroom. Eventually it'll get there. I have an item here for Media Center. We're going to be going back to that a couple times today. So in there is a opportunity under reading to go to Destiny Discover. So that's down here. Destiny Discover is one way you can get there. And then there's an option for NoodleTools there. Or you can just type in, there's Destiny Discover there, or you can just type in NoodleTools. NODLE, NoodleTools.
And someone said in the chat, you can also use Clever.
Clever, it's also there as well. I'm going to sign out just because I need to sign out so I can get you guys to NoodleTools. All right, so when you go to log in, I'm going to go back to NoodleTools, my little sign in here. When you go to the login button and select the login button, you are going to ignore everything on the left-hand side. You're going to go to register with Google. So if everybody can take a moment to do that right now. So you're going to go to login, ignore everything on the left-hand side, click on login with Google. And if you're like me, you have 20 million accounts. You've got to choose the correct account. And bam, it gets you into NoodleTools. I'm going to delete this because I'm going to start a new one. Yes, please delete. All right. So if this is your
Miss Frasure, we've got people who can't find it.
You can't find the login, or you can't find NoodleTools.
Waiting on a response. Hang on.
Okay, no worries. I'm gonna log out.
Okay, so they can't find NoodleTools.
Okay. All right, let me go to here. Accounts, log out. Please log in. Huh, how about that? That's my son's UMBC account. Huh. The things that show up on my computer.
Someone else has a question. Do we have to enter the expected year of graduation?
You do not. That is a very good question. NoodleTools.com. Control C. Control V, enter. All right, NoodleTools.com. So if everybody can get to that point. So when if this is your first time, getting into Noodle Tools, or if you've changed schools, maybe you like did it in elementary school and now you have, yes, thank you so much. Why? Things go so smoothly, don't they?
Yep.
They do. Yep, there they go.
Gotta love the technology.
Gotta love the technology. All right, guys. Back to the slide I was on. If this is your first time, you will need to look for your school. You might need to change your school. You might need to change your school. Okay. All right.
Someone
so
has a
Tools.
project on there from 2nd grade.
How about that? So please make sure you change your school if that's the case. You might need to go into the upper right-hand corner under your name, your login information, and under profile, you might need to change your school.
Okay.
All right. All right. So if you are at that point, please type a yes in the chat. Type a yes in the chat once you are logged in and you're ready to go. DS. We have a DS. A we, a C. A DOS. All right, guys. So it looks like most of you guys. Looks like you guys, most of you guys are there. Perfect. Thank you guys for responding. I love that. All right. So once you are into Noodle Tools, you get to your home page here. So you have a few things up here at the top, right along the top ribbon. So you have projects and dashboard and sources and note cards and papers. And so there's a lot of different tools and a lot of different things that Noodle Tools can do for you. But if you are just getting started, you will need to start with a new project. Since you guys are just getting into this to create your works cited page for your National History Day item, you're going to need to create a new project. So you would do that by clicking on New Project in the upper left-hand corner. Hey, it's a new project. All right, so if this is for National History Day, and I would put 2020 because it happens every single year, so you know which one it is. All right, so you put National History Day. Keep it as MLA as the citation style. And then let's go with junior. If you get some really weird, yes, you can share it with partners. I'll show you how to do that. If you get something that's really weird and it's not like a standard just magazine article or a book or a database or something like that, you can always go in and switch it to advanced. There was some chat going around with the media specialists about somebody found an image of a primary source from a university. It's like, how do we cite that? It's not in junior. So, but I would start with junior. Most of you guys are going to be fine with junior. So once you do that, you hit submit. And it pulls up a projects page. So you can, if you were doing your actual, a full-flown paper or whatever, you can click to enter your research question. What's your main hypothesis and your claim?
They all need to do that anyway.
Okay,
they all need to enter their thesis statement.
There you go.
They all have, yeah.
So that will be the place to do it. That will be the place to do it. So the question came up about sharing with partners. So down here in the second section, under sharing and collaboration, you can add another person to the list. You can add another person to share with. So if I wanted to say, share this with Ms. Flores, what's your middle initial?
N.
N. I can type in that and add her as a collaborator. So she is now a full collaborator on this project. So if you are working with somebody, you would type in not their name, blah blah blah, but it would be their student ID number at mcpsmd.net. So that's how you collaborate with somebody else. And so you both can be adding in the works cited sources. You both can be adding in note cards all together at the same time. So it's a pretty powerful tool, honestly. All right, so once you have this information filled in about your project, the details about your project, you're ready to go to sources. So these are the things that you can do. And these links in here are actually links to give you information about it. They give you links, like if I clicked on projects, it would take me to the projects. Let's make a project slide. There you go. Right?
Miss Frasure, once they filled out that original page you just showed them with the title and the collaborators, can they go back and edit it later?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. So you could go back to it. So I want to click on, okay, so we're done with that. So I can go back now to projects. And there's my National History Day, dude. And it takes me to my projects page and I can go ahead and edit it back again. Yep, that was a good question. That was a good question. All right. So we've done making a project. So I want to talk about citations. So this is what most people use NoodleTools for, but it really is much stronger than that. One of the cool things I like about NoodleTools is that you can create note cards and give them topics, like sort of into a certain area. When I was, back when in the dark ages, I would write papers, I would take notes on seriously the little note cards and I'd spread them out all across the floor. And then I would group them into kind of categories. And then the paper would write itself. Well, this is a virtual way of doing it, is that you can group your note cards into categories and then you click on generate paper and it basically puts all of your paragraphs together based on all of your citations, all of your quotations from your sources, and it puts them all into paragraphs. It's really, really, really cool.
That is cool. I wish I would have had that in college.
It's so much easier. And I relied on note cards, yes, because I was old. All right. I was born in the 60s. Okay, so NoodleTools. So let's go to sources. So I want to talk about, there's two different ways you can cite sources. One way you can do it is called a quick cite. So quick cite citation, I'm on the slide number 6 in the presentation if anybody's keeping up with that. So the quick cite is where you have a resource that already gives you a formatted citation. You don't have to enter all of the little pieces where you're starting from scratch. So quick cite is really cool. And most of the databases that the school system has purchased for you has the quick cite option. So I'm just going to use Encyclopedia Britannica as a source. So let's say I'm doing a research paper about Argentina. Argentina. All right, so it gives me some options. My results back. If you guys don't know this, if you're looking for like just basic facts, if you take this down a level, it gives you basic facts. So if you're only looking for like not huge amounts of details, you can take it down a reading level. If you're looking for a lot of details, you can bump it up to level 3. So it just depends upon what you're looking for. If I'm just looking for what's the climate like in Argentina, that's pretty basic. So you could maybe take it down a level. So I'm just giving you the options. It drops it in 2 just because we're middle school. So just pointing that out there. Okay, so Argentina. So when you go to the article about Argentina, there is a whole bunch of buttons up here in these little red circles just underneath the beautiful picture of Argentina. One of them is, if you hover over it, it tells you what each one does, but the box with the check in it is a quick cite, and that's kind of a universal symbol when it comes to databases, is the box with the check mark in it is your quick cite. So when I click on that, bam, it gives me the citation. How hard can that be? That is so easy. So you can even change the style, but we're using the MLA style. So to input this citation into NoodleTools, you simply just highlight it and copy it, Control C. I go to NoodleTools, I go to sources, and I want to add a new source. Okay, so now we've got to think about, what was it that I used as my source? Where was that information? Well, that information was in a database. Yes, the database is technically a website, but this is a specifically paid for database that has a plethora of information in it, as opposed to the website, which I'm going to show you next.
What makes it different from an ebook though? since it's an encyclopedia?
Because it's an encyclopedia, you can do a search on it. That's a really good question, Ms. Flores. So an ebook is like a book. I mean, it's
Like a novel?
It's like a novel. It's like a textbook.
Okay.
So yeah, so there are ebooks that are textbooks,
Okay.
as opposed to a database, which is where you can like put in a search query and it comes up with, you know, a certain number of answers. That's a really good question. Yeah, really good question. So we have a database. So this is a database. So all you do is click on database. You click on database, and this is original content in the database. So sometimes you have databases that give you magazine articles, and a lot of the magazine articles will often have their own quick site, so you can just grab that as the location of it. So original content and database, you can click on that. And up here across the top is a quick cite option. So I click on copy and paste a citation, Control V, and there's my citation. If you are into providing an annotation, giving a description of what kind of information is in this resource, if you are looking to provide a description of the benefits of using this particular resource, you know, giving yourself like some cues as to, hey, this is where I found blah, 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 or whatever. You can put the annotation down there and it will save it along with it.
And I just want to note that for those of you that are going to be submitting your project to the county level competition, you will have to do annotations. So I know there's one person in here, but you will need to use the annotation section to describe what was in the source. And basically you just summarize the source in the annotation. So just keep that in mind.
So one thing you might notice about this citation is this part right here. It's right at the end. It says access to 16 December 2020. So it gives you the day, month, and year. So sometimes it's a weird format. But the access date is pretty important, because sometimes putting that in your citation, because think about Encyclopedia Britannica, things are happening, current events are happening all the time. You know, a couple of years ago, there was like new countries, or Pluto was still a planet, you know? So you need to give the access date of when you got that information. So that way you can, it gives a stamp in time that, okay, if you access it later, there may be additional information or something might be taken out. So you need to make sure you put the access date. So, all right, so once you have cut and pasted into your quick site, you hit save and you are done. There you go. So it should pop up here as my first source right there. All right, so that's how you do a quick site. That's how you do a quick site. You just got to look for that little square with the checkbox in it, and you will get your quick site and copy and paste. Now, the other type of more common one that you will have is a citation from scratch. This is my last slide that I was going to show you, and I've got 9 minutes to cover it. All right, so this is, let's create a citation from scratch. So if you were to select, so you would have to go in and select a new source. So let's say I'm doing my research on Argentina, and I get some information from the Argentinian embassy, because they've got some great information in there too. So let's say I need to make a citation for this particular website. So I don't see any little square with a checkbox in it. So this is one from scratch. This is one from scratch. So I'm going to go back up to new source. So this one is a website. This one's a website. It's not a database. It's not an ebook. It's not something it's certainly not in print. You know, hardly anything's in print these days. So this is a website. So this type of citation is a website. So I'm going to click on that, and it's a web page. So there's some important information to include in here. So obviously it's the URL. So that's an easy one. So let me get rid of that. Let me close that guy out so I don't keep going back to Encyclopedia Britannica. All right, so the URL is really easy. You just copy the URL, Control C, and I go back to NoodleTools and I paste the URL. All right, You don't necessarily have to put in the date of publication, because oftentimes the websites don't give you when was this website created, because it's oftentimes evolving. But that access date is really important. So a nice thing about NoodleTools is you can click on, I checked it out today. And look, it automatically filled it in for you. Or if you did your research maybe 2 weeks ago, you can pull up a calendar and look and put in 2 weeks ago. Do you have to cite the National History Day resources like the website creator if we are like the website creator? So Derek, are you creating your own website, or are you using somebody's website? Oh,
So they're creating their own website. Derek, you have to cite the sources that you got the information from that's going on your website.
Right.
But not the website creator itself. That's just the platform you're using to show your research.
Yeah, yeah. So the works cited gives you credibility. You know, out on Wikipedia, anybody can create a web page about purple elephants, you know, and it's like, just because it's on Wikipedia, does that mean that it's right? You know, if you see anything from Wikipedia, you know, unless it's like, you know, fan fiction or a list of, you know, episodes in an anime series, you know, take it with a grain of salt, because anybody can do that. All right, so you put in the URL and you put in the date that you accessed it. Again, the reasons why I told you that in a second ago. The other thing you need to do, contributors, you don't always know who the contributors are. You don't always know who the contributors are. Sometimes they have an about page, but most of the time, you're not going to know who the actual people who wrote this particular article. You're not going to know who they are. You're not going to know who they are. So that's not necessary information. But one of the things you do need to do is put down the web page itself, the title of the web page. The title of the web page sometimes is at the top of the page. But the actual title of the web page, what does the HTML, CSS code say that this page is the words that are in the top tab up on the very top. So the name of this web page is actually the same as what's written there, but it is Embassy in the United States. That's the actual name of this title. So I would go and type that web page title or document, EMBASSY in United States. All right. So once you have that information in there, so, oh, sorry, name of the web page, that needs to go down here. There it is. With the little, see how it has a little red dot, that means it's required. And again, you can go ahead and put in the annotation, and the publisher of the site would be the Argentinian embassy. So I could type that in as well. Okay, so I have the URL. So if Ms. Flores wanted to double check your work, this would allow her to go back to this URL, that page exactly, and she would double check and make sure, yes, hey, look, my tab says Embassy in the United States, okay. And they accessed it on December 16th. And then you would have that is your citation for the information that you got off of that page. And then you can go ahead and hit save. All right, so let's say you put in however many resources you have. You can, at this point, export. If you are completely done, you can export your works cited to Google Docs. It is literally that easy. And bam, there's your works cited right there. So it's so easy. Citation export, here it comes. Oh, look, I have to sign in again. And there's my works cited list right there. Kind of cool. And look, they even put it in alphabetical order. It is literally that easy. Literally that easy. All right, so I said I was going to stop there. The other thing I wanted to show you is there is a link here in this presentation. I'm doing a work smarter, not harder. Another middle school media specialist who's like, you know, the poster child for how to do everything right, has created short tutorials on how to do certain, if you have, let's say you want to cite an image, or you want to cite a magazine article, or you want to cite an encyclopedia or a video clip, she gives you examples of how to do it within NoodleTools and the things you need to include. So
thank you. I was actually about to ask you that, because we have a lot of students that are doing exhibits, and so images are going to be big on, because you guys, you have to cite your sources for images too.
Yep.
So
yep.
So make sure you're using this. I've linked the presentation into our modules. I'll show you in a minute.
Yep.
Does anyone have questions?
All right, I'm going to stop sharing at the moment. Anybody have questions? I am always available. I am always available for questions. I am really quick at getting back at email. I check my Outlook email more often than I do my Gmail, but I do check that several times a day as well. And Ms. Flores is going to show you where to find this presentation.
Yes. So regardless of which class period you're in, I put it. So in this National History Day project materials, okay, I did help resources. And here, remember, is the video I made about where you even start with creating your project. And then here's the NoodleTools presentation, this one that Ms. Frasure just shared with us, where you can click on all the things. And right here on slide 6, it looks like, is where that which one were you just showing with the resource?
It's from scratch, lady? From scratch, 7. And it's
okay.
This link. There you go.
All right, yeah, so the Silver Creek Middle School, so it's in slide 7 to see how to do all those other different types of citations. So just that's where you'll find everything is in our module.
Yep. Very cool. But yeah, so if you have any questions, I am here to help out. Here to help out. Looks like there's a bunch of people whose parents are media specialists. That's kind of cool. It is the best job in the building.
Someone asked for clarification. So yes, everyone has to use NoodleTools to create their citations page. So it doesn't matter what type of project you have. You have to create me a separate document with your bibliography, your works cited, unless you're doing a research paper, and then that would be at the end of your research paper. But everyone else, the requirement is separate document with your citations. So that's why I asked Ms. Frasure to come and teach you guys this, so that you don't have to teach yourself how to cite things.
So Caroline asked a question. So after we cite everything, we just add it to the document. So yeah, so you can create another document. If you're writing a paper and that's your final product, you can just generate the citations, a list of works cited, like I showed you how to do that. Just click on that one button and it pops open in a new document. You can grab all of that, copy it, and then put it at the end of your paper. But if you're doing, say, a presentation, a website, you know, some kind of media board,
performance.
Yeah, so you'll need to just print it out as a single document.
And just make sure it's shared with me and you're good to go.
You're welcome, Kyla. You're welcome. Anyway.
So again, this was recorded. So I'm going to post it in our module for NHD. It'll say Ms. Frasher's presentation. So you guys can come back and watch it again if you need to. And also you can email Ms. Frasure anytime. She's the expert on NoodleTools. I'm useless. So if you have questions about that, please email her. And when you submit your work cited, you'll just attach it. Let me share my screen one more time. And remember, I'm not expecting to see your citations pages until you turn in your final project. But let's just say you're doing an exhibit, right? You attach everything here. So this is where you turn in your work. So I think on the student view, you guys have a thing that says like submit or something, and you'll just attach either you'll just copy and paste the link to your Google Doc in there, or you'll have it uploaded as a file, but everything is getting attached here. Does that make sense? You're right, Skylar. I can't pick a good Starbucks coffee because it doesn't exist.
The hot caramel apple cider just rocks. I love it.
I just don't like Starbucks.
That's the only thing I drink there.
Dunkin' Donuts is way better. All right. Thank you guys for coming. If you still have questions, I'm going to stop recording. And if you want to unmute yourselves and ask, you can.